John Doe, the hardest killer in Forsaken currently, now surpassing 1 by 1 at 5-star difficulty. It is to no one's a big surprise that John Doe is easily one of the hardest killers to master as of right now. With him being the only killer with a trapper-based kit, people struggle to use it efficiently and effectively, seemingly trying to adopt other killers' playstyles to his unique one. Today, I will teach you the basics of John Doe and some techniques so you can prove that you're more than just a rumor. John Doe is the tankiest killer with 1500 health, so you never will really be worrying about dying, because you have so much health, there's nothing for you to worry about. To even limp, you'd basically need to have a whole cool kid killed. Unless you face those people, you shouldn't be worrying. John Doe has the normal 110 stamina, 9.5 stamina loss per second, and 21 stamina gain per second. And to accompany that, he has a walk speed of 9 and a sprint speed of 27.25, making him the current roster's second slowest killer. As I stated in the intro, he isn't really meant to chase, but his kit helps him strategically find ways to zone out survivors to him. I will explain more on that later, as I explain his abilities. John Doe's first passive is Unstoppable, and dare I say, it's one of the best passives in the game without a doubt. The passive makes it so you can't be stunned for more than around 2.2 seconds. That means that while adjacent will be stunned for maybe around 3.5 seconds by guess, you will only be stunned for 2.2 seconds. That's one whole second less of being stunned. And not only that, but additionally, you'll get speed 1 for 2.5 seconds. This makes you way more of a threat to sentinels, as you can always keep on pressure after they stun you. When they do stun you, you'll only be stunned for 2.2 seconds, which even that doesn't allow for much distance to be gained. And even then, you'll have speed 1 for 2.5 seconds, which will make you even closer to them. This always applies pressure to them, in which having pressure on the survivors is really good. When the survivors are under pressure, they are more likely to make small errors, which could all be the end of their run. John Doe's next passive is Natural Malevolence? Malevolence. Uh,
Malevolence.
yeah. Natural Malevolence. This passive isn't too complex, for all it really does is leave a trail behind John Doe wherever he sprints or walks. It has a pretty decent length, and when a survivor steps on it, they are applied with Corrupted 1 for 3 seconds, and it does a total of 8 damage. Now, although it only applies it for about 3 or 4 seconds, I'm not too sure, to be honest, if a survivor were to have a second left of the effect and re-step on that trail, the timer will reset back to the 3 seconds. And if a survivor stays on top of the trail, the timer just stays at 3 and doesn't go down until they step off the trail, meaning it'll do a constant amount of damage. Now, this trail can be very useful for dealing peck damage to survivors, such as Guest. Now, when Guest tries to charge you or punch you, he could end up accidentally touching your little trail, meaning you could do free 8 damage to them, just like that. And although 8 doesn't seem like a lot, it does slowly stack up if they keep doing it. Now, you don't have to do a lot for this passive to do its work. Just chase people. But there are some scenarios where you can use it to your advantage. I have even made a little presentation to show you what I mean. So, this is you, John Doe. All you have to do is put a little path right here, like step on it. So you have the noob jump in the corner, as soon as they try to get out, they step on this path, you know? And as they run away, that's like 8 free damage. Additionally, 3 other damage you might have done while he's in the corner. Very cool. Excuse the bad audio quality, but that scenario I presented to you, it's not very realistic. Most of the time, it's not going to be pro players going to corners. But if you do somehow have a pro player in the corner, it's always considerably smart to try to do this. But I mean, you don't really need to go out of your way to do it. Just kind of make sure your path is alongside the exit, so when they do escape you, you can at least, corrupt them. Like every other killer, John Doe has his basic flash ability. There's nothing much to it. A basic M1 that does 28 damage with a mediocre hitbox in a pretty long windup of 0.4 seconds. Of course, to some people, this may seem pretty fast, but a good player with good reaction time could easily dodge and predict your attacks. On top of the long windup, you have a very painfully obvious swing animation, putting up your whole hand in the air, alerting everyone, hey, I'm about to swing. Air 404, another simple ability that John Doe holds. When used, you become very slow for a few seconds, and after a little bit, every survivor that's detectable will be revealed to you for 4 seconds. I recommend that you best use this before you use abilities like Corrupt Nature, which I'll explain later, to properly see survivors. Additionally, when you run low on stamina or hit 0, and you lose the survivor you're chasing, you'd probably use Area 404 to relocate him or find secure position. But something to note is that survivors can hear you use this ability from what I remember to be around 200 studs away. Now we're getting to John Doe's more complicated abilities. Digital Footprint. This ability could be debatably one of John Doe's best abilities. When used, you begin to stomp your foot for about 3 seconds, and once the animation is over, a shadow puddle appears beneath you. Now, this puddle becomes fully active after the third stomp, so if you're placing one and a survivor runs past you before the third stomp, they won't be affected with the debuffs. Now, what do these puddles exactly do? Well, the puddles, when stepped on by a survivor, apply slowness 2 and corrupted 1 to the survivor for 10 seconds, and grant John Doe speed 1 for 10 seconds. When they do step in it, additionally, you can see the aura of the survivor, but the survivor can also see you for the time. Now, these puddles can be extremely punishing if the person you are chasing steps in one. Most of the time, if they do, it's the end of their run. Since for reference, when a survivor has slowness 2, I calculated that they might have around 20 speed, while John Doe will have a speed of 30. That is a whole 10 speed difference. And if John Doe is right behind you, well, I don't think you're escaping that. Unless you juke him out, of course, but still. Now, with this in mind, how can I know where to put them? Well, first of all, you need to know that you can only have a max of 3 puddles at a time. Placing any more will simply override the oldest one. Additionally, these puddles can only last up to 165 seconds before disappearing. Placing puddles in the right place is key to winning. You can place puddles on generators to prevent survivors from doing them, and lowering the time, and especially place these puddles on major passageways, where survivors tend to use the most. As an example, on the Brennan's map, you can place them here, here, and here. Some places I would really like to recommend, and what I personally do for my puddle placements, is place them in locations like this. Now, the reason I like placing them in places like this is because oftentimes, survivors simply do not expect the puddle to be up there, or these routes are extremely useful for them, and by simply putting the puddle there, when they do go up that route, they are forced between 3 main things here, which is 1. The safest option, to juke back into you, in which when they do, they may end up risking being hit by you or touching your trail. 2. Jump down, in which when they do, they get that stagger slowing effect, and you don't, meaning you could probably catch up to them and get at least one good hit. And lastly, 3. They can step in a puddle, likewise sealing their fate. One last thing, placing puddles randomly can work, but it's not the most efficient. Yes, sometimes it catches people off guard, but most of the time it's just a waste of your free puddle placements. With this in mind, make sure to place your puddles in the most strategic areas you can. When you begin to chase people, try to lead them into those dead zones to guarantee yourself a kill. Corrupt Energy, the final and last ability I'm going to talk about for John Doe. Now, when used, you stick a corrupted arm into the ground and during around a 5-second state of standing still, 26 total spikes will slowly emerge as that time goes on. Once those spikes are emerged, they will only last for 14 seconds before they sink back into the ground. Each spike does 12 damage to the survivor and can stack up to 4 times, meaning it could do a total of 48 damage. And when you hit a survivor, you are granted speed 1 for 7 seconds. Now, these spikes are a game changer in some scenarios. With them, you can strategically use them to block off paths or trap players. As an example, let's say I'm playing against my little brother, and he decides to camp in this area. I can use my brain and figure out that I can trap him by sending out my spikes in this direction, so when he jumps down, he gets trapped, allowing me to catch up or just, kill him easily. These spikes are to be used in scenarios where you know you can trap the survivor. Another example is my brother is running to this area in Cool Carnival. Slight adjustment. I forgot Cool Carnival got removed, so I'm going to show y'all using this very cool slides presentation. So, this is Cool Carnival, right? This one area, like the water fountain is like right here probably, right? So like, yeah, let's say I'm chasing him. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, I need to get out of here. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can use my spikes. And I go like, boom. And I run at him. He's like, oh, and dead, Yeah. Yeah, excuse that. Now that you have an idea of how to use it strategically, I'll teach you how you can use it in a more hostile manner. When trying to hit a survivor with the spikes, knowing where they are is key, which is why hitting them like this isn't the most ideal. The exception being if you use error 404 before it. Error 404 before it. Error 404 before it. Huh. There are many more techniques that people can use to better the chances of hitting a survivor with it. I'm going to show you two ways. One that I personally don't like, but it does work, and the one I use most often. The first way is spinning in an excessive manner and just hoping to hit someone. This way surprisingly does work, it's just not consistent, which is why I don't really like it. The reason it does work sometimes is just the mere randomness of it. People don't know where the spikes are going to emerge, just denying any predictability. But like I said, it does work, but it's just not consistent. It's kind of random. So, I mean, you can test the waters and see if you like it, but if you don't like it, I'm with you on this one. But the method I use, the second way, is probably likewise the most common method, but it's for a good reason. To use this method, deactivate shift lock and face away from the survivor you want to hit. Put your cursor on the survivor, and after a couple spikes emerge, wait a couple seconds and then shift lock, instantly bringing your spikes to them. This is simply better since you can kind of see the survivor where they are, and it also kind of like makes the survivor struggle, to know when you're going to turn around. So it's just, obviously it's not perfect. You can still get juked, but I'd say it's more of an efficient way to hit the survivor. And one last thing. You can use these spikes to finish off survivors below 13 health. Just simply use the method I taught you, and when you're close enough, just use the ability and snipe them out of the air to finish them off. Before I conclude, I just want to say that even though John Doe is meant to counter stuns, well, supposed to, because of his little unstoppable passive, it's ironic to say he's actually the one being countered by stuns. Almost all of his abilities require him to stand still for an excessive amount of time. So when you use your abilities, be sure to watch for any lurking sentinels, especially at pest time. I have gone over all John Doe abilities and given you some tips, but of course, listening to me isn't all to becoming good. You need to learn to manage your stamina well and having proper pathing. What I mean by that is when you're chasing a survivor, make sure to hug walls, turn corners in a sharp manner, or just do whatever you need to do to save stamina and catch up faster. Perfection isn't possible, but with practice you can approach it. Thank you for watching, and if I miss anything, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and good luck becoming more than a rumor.